Introducing BOB57, the best of both 5 and 7-inch. From a creator for creators. BOB57 is more than just a good-looking 6-inch cinematic FPV drone. More agile than a 7-inch and more efficient than a 5-inch. The protective shell keeps the inside safe and clean. BOB57 comes with optimized propellers to ensure smooth and long flights. Directly power your GoPro on board. It was never easier. Evoke emotions by using technology.
Welcome to the unboxing tutorial of BOB57, the new signature drone I'm releasing together with iFlight. So that's what you receive, this package. Let's open it and see what's inside. So you're gonna find these props. They're from Gemfam. I'm releasing them with Gemfam. So they are specifically designed for 6-inch drones. Have a pitch of 3.2, so relatively low, but for buttery smooth flights. And yeah, they're tested for these drones and give really good efficiency, around 47% throttle, which is nice for a good fast cruise. Then you get 2 different types of antenna. You get a long antenna for long range flights, but also a much shorter antenna for some more action-based shots you want to do. I recommend to go with the small one unless you want to go long range, because just by having a long antenna, there's no need if you don't fly long range, and it just adds more potential wobbles if you do quick maneuvers. So yeah, just use the small one. The flight is more stable. And then when you go long range, just put the long antenna on it. You get also this, I'm not sure if you can see it, I will take it out because that's important. You get this cable, and this cable is basically, I will show you in a second, you can connect that to the drone and to your GoPro, and you can directly power your GoPro directly from the copter, which basically saves you a little bit of weight. And now, here he is. Let me take this off. So this is BOB57, and it's not 30357, it's BOB57. The name was created based on best of both 5 and 7-inch. That's why it's called BOB57. That means it's a 6-inch drone. And the reason for this project was 7-inch drone, they give you great flight time, but you will see the lack of agility. They feel more floaty, and sometimes if you can only bring one drone, a 7-inch might not be the right choice, because yes, you can fly longer, but you're really not agile. You need to have big batteries. They just feel much less agile. And 5-inch drones, they're great, but as GoPros get heavier, or if you want to have 2 GoPros, it can just be optimized. And I think for the little bit heavier GoPros, and to also get more flight time than a 5-inch, a 6-inch is really a nice in-between, because you get better flight time, but also more agility than a 7-inch. And these motors, the signature motors, they're specifically designed for 6-inch. They're not the most aggressive motors. These motors are basically designed to give a lot of efficiency, but still some power if you have to chase race cars, or if you have to chase skiers, some objects which are really fast. So yeah, these motors, efficient motors for long range, but also add more action-based shots. Then the drone has a protection shell here, and You have seen that also on the Evoque, so that was slightly redesigned. And this is just if you fly in sandy areas, or if you go hit, for example, the grass, it just protects the inside. It can also be super handy if you like dive into a waterfall, or if there are water droplets, you go through a cloud or something. It just gives you a layer of extra protection because there is just this TPU in between the components and the outside. Then the next one is, you can see the GoPro mount in the front, and there will be, it's not on this one, but there will be a GoPro mount also in the back. So the idea is that you can have GoPro in the front or GoPro in the back, or both at the same time, and it still feels really snappy because yeah, the props are 6-inch, not 5-inch, and you just can feel like it's easier for the aircraft to lift 2 GoPros. Then it's the high quality GPS in the back. It's better than what you most see, and it's really fast and also more accurate. I really like this one. I think it's important, and we put this on because as most of you probably want to go also a little bit more into long range, when you go with this drone, you just have this extra safety by having a better GPS. It's not like the perfect DJI GPS, but still it's better than others. We put only a Cadex Vista inside, so the reason for that is to save weight and also having one antenna. If you have 2 antennas and if you want to do quick maneuvers, it's just not nice because they can cause oscillations. So having one long antenna should be fine. I've done tons of long range flights with only one antenna. So yes, I mean, some of you say, okay, the air unit is a little bit more redundant by having 2 antennas. However, I think if you have a long antenna and it's nicely positioned up like a Scorpion, I never had an issue. I flew kilometers away with just one antenna, and that was fine. So yeah, safe weight, safe space, and having one antenna, that was basically the goal. Then the drone comes also with different configurations. This one is for crossfire, and you can see there's a crossfire antenna in the back, away from the carbon, of course. Then also one of the features is, you can see here the XT60 plug. That's really something we try to do, is have the XT60 in the front. That gives you, usually when you have the GoPro with an angle, there's a dead space between the battery and the GoPro. So having the XT60 plug right behind the GoPro just uses that space. Plus you have more space to the back if you have the XT60 plug just next to the antenna mount. You cannot really put the bigger battery on because it's always it gets in the way with the antenna. So having that in the front just saves space and makes it easier. Also, you can see that this drone has a relatively long body, and there's a reason for that, because it's for short and long range flights. And if you want to put bigger batteries on it, it just has space up to easily a 3000 milliamp 6S battery, and it's not touching the antenna or something. So it has a little bit longer body, might have a little bit more wind resistance there, but it just gives you the option to have enough space for bigger battery. There's one little feature here, you have to take that off. It's this USB-C plug. So as said before, you have this little cable, and you can plug it in there, and you can plug it in your GoPro, and then also in GoPro Bones when it's available everywhere. And this just gives you the option to power directly the GoPro also from the drone, and it's a simple, easy solution. Let's have a quick look at the frame. So it's a Nate frame, and the reason for that is I'm not a big fan of dead cat frames, just because, yes, it's nice because you don't have props in view, but just from if you look at it optically, it doesn't look really stable. And I also feel that it's not very agile, and I never felt it's really stiff because, yes, in the front you have this, it has a massive angle, but then in the back it's not so stiff. And then if you use something like a Truex, it's very stiff, very symmetrical, but if you have a lower angle, you just get props in view very quickly. And for this one, I went with an H-frame, and usually H-frame, they're more likely to be not as stiff, but here, I'm not sure if you can see it, but we redesigned the entire bottom part to make basically the arms touching each other, meaning that it's not just these front arms are connected in the front and the other arms, the back arms are connected in the back, like other H-frames. They're really touching each other in the middle, and this just gives like better stability. It's more stiff. It's a little bit more heavier, of course, but here the goal was just to not get the downsides of H-frames. But then on the other side, because it's H-frames, you can see the angle here is much bigger, meaning, and the GoPro sits very far in the front, so having a low angle, you don't get the props in view. Also, one more thing is, you can see that the arms are relatively thick, but thin. The goal for that was, when you fly, that it's more aerodynamic. If the arms are a little bit wider, you just have like more wind resistance, so the goal was to keep it slim. It's not the absolute lightest frame, but because this drone is also to do more action-based shots, and if you want to chase cars or if you want to go freestyle, we wanted to make sure that they can take a beating. So, and if you want to go crazy long range, with this drone, I suggest to take off this TPU outer shell, because that just adds extra weight, and that's maybe not needed if you just want to go long range and make less action shots. So let's talk a little bit about flight time. The other day I did a flight test, and I flew over 9 minutes with an 1800 6S battery, and I did some tests with 3000 milliamp batteries, and I was flying easily over 9 minutes. And even with a 1400 battery, you can fly between 6 and 7 minutes. And when you put and that was with the GoPro on, with the antenna, full setup. That's really nice. That just gives, I think, every minute you can get out of a 5-inch, that's really valuable. Of course, it's not like a 7-inch, which can fly much longer with lithium-ion battery, but if you put the 4000 lithium-ion battery on this one, you can fly really, really long. It's not as punchy, but you can definitely fly long. And you really feel, when you do a longer flight and you're diving down, you can just feel that it's not 7 or 8-inch, that it's still like 6-inch, so close to 5-inch, which makes it really, really agile and more maneuverable. Let's talk a little bit about the components inside. So there are 2 capacitors inside, so 1000 microfarad. That's more than you usually have on these drones, on these iFlight drones, which is good because we wanted to go for more redundancy. It's the Blitz stack inside, and the ESC has a spike absorber, which absorbs unhealthy current spikes. That's great. Then also it's a 30 by 30 stack, just a bigger ESC, which just adds a little bit more safety margin, basically. 20 by 20 stack would also work, I'm sure, but I just prefer to be on the safe side and have a little bit bigger ESC. The FC has this new BMI 270 gyro. So some of you say, oh, it's much worse than the IMU 6000, but you have heard, due to the chip shortage, it's just really hard to mass produce. But also other manufacturers like Holybro or Aiken, they're switching more and more to BMI 270. And I was actually really surprised how well you can tune them on the new Betaflight 4.3. They're more supported. You add some low pass filtering, and I couldn't really feel the difference. And I can guarantee, like, spend a lot of time tuning this drone. And I also asked the scientists, which also is part of this masterclass, Brian, to really get the last 5% out of it. And I'm really happy with the final tune. Spent a lot of hours on the tune, and this drone, when you receive it, comes with the tune and my rates. If you prefer other rates, you can easily change them. But yeah, the tune was basically optimized with all sorts of batteries, with these propellers. So yeah, it should fly really nice out of the box. This is how the BOB57 will look like when you put all the props and the GoPro mount with the GoPro on it. You can see here now also the battery pad still shows BOB57. Makes me really happy. Yeah, so this is the full setup, and here, just to show you, that's like a 3000 milliamp battery. You can easily put that on the back. Not easily, but you can put it on the back and you can see it's not like really touching the antenna or something. So yeah, let me know your thoughts if you tested it so far, and if you have any troubles, you can also reach out to me. I'm happy to assist. And yeah, thanks a lot. Unboxing, you have seen the launch video. Now I want to dive a little bit into the technical part. That's why I just share my screen, as there is the most important stuff. I also want to say this is more for the people who are interested in the actual data. I'm a very analytical person. For me, the tuning has to be based on actual data, meaningful data. Also, when you buy a quad, you want to see the data, the vibrations, how clean it is. I think that's very important. So this is for those of you who are interested in this type of technicality behind BOB57. Also, in my masterclass, I'm going to have an entire section about advanced tuning. I have special guest, Brian, a scientist, and we're going to talk about also the BOB57 tune, but much more about the tuning approach and what you need to consider, etc. I will just go through, and if at any point in time you really need to reflash your firmware, you have all these screenshots also on my website and in this video, and you can go back and you can like see if the numbers match, because this is the tune I recommended, and I want to show you also how you can get a little bit more aggressive tune, because this is a little bit more I would say on the efficient side, but you can also slightly change it, and then it's a little bit more responsive and has more authority. All right, here, don't want to talk too much. On the right, you can see I left the filters at default. On the right side, this drone has a BMI 270 gyro. As you may have heard, IMU 6000 is hard to mass produce. More and more manufacturers changing to the BMI 270. Chris Rosser, another a guy, he did a really nice tutorial about what he recommends as low pass filters. I changed that a little bit, so it's not the same. On my quad, it's very clean, so I just went with 120 Hertz, quite low, low pass filters, PT1. So initially I had a bi-quad, which was giving me a little bit more phase delay. So it's just one filter, quite low, but here you can see I only have one harmonics visible, so second and third harmonic was really not visible. It was very clean. That's why I only needed basically one, which gonna saves me a lot of latency. And I put that a little bit lower because, yeah, the BMI 270, as explained also in other tutorials, can have just like more noise at lower frequencies. And then here, just 3 notches, and they're gonna hunt up and down from 90 to 600. And a little bit a wider Q factor of 300. Yeah, make sure you have these settings. That's very important. Sometimes if you work with the CLI tab and you just type in, it could be that some of the values are not taken. I don't know why, but it happens. So just take these screenshots as a reference. Don't get confused because this is like transparent. It just means manual value were added via the CLI tab and just like not via the slider. All right, here on the tune, quite aggressive. You can see PD balance at 1.4 and 1.8 master multiplier, but the filters are right, and the motors, they get like gently warm, but like not too much. I haven't any issues. I was really pushing it hard with a lot of weight on top, so no issue at all. But yeah, it looks a little bit aggressive, but it works very nice. Here anti-gravity, I put that up 0.5, and here iTherm relax also lower than default because it's a little bit heavier quad. Thrust linear 25. I'm gonna explain you later why, but this is basically to have a little bit more boost at lower throttle, because we're gonna run a higher PWM, which I'm gonna show you in a second. Make sure you have these values as well. Yeah, that's very important. Why this is basically transparent is it's just because expert mode is not enabled, but make sure these values are very important. You can orientate here. If these numbers match, you should be good to go. Next one, this is my personal settings. It's quite smooth, so yeah, this is very personal taste. And if the quad doesn't feel super snappy, you can change this value, and yeah, you're gonna have way more accelerations on the sticks. I lowered TPA to 0.6 and also TPA breakpoint, just because when I was giving full throttle, sometimes I had some little wobbles just because there was a lot of power. Didn't have a massive impact, but got better results. Next one, make sure, I suggest motors running outwards. You have to press that reverse button. Yeah, that's important. Then bidirectional D-shot 600. On the BMI to 70, I don't have a screenshot here, but the maximum pit loop you have is 3.2 kilohertz, so it's not 8K or 4K, it's 3.2. I was also first worried about, oh my God, but after I've seen this quad flying, yeah, I don't think it would be better with 8K pit loop. I got really good result. I'm absolutely happy. And yes, don't get confused because it's 3.2 kilohertz pit loop. It's just fine. Then here, 6.5 motor idle. This is just because this drone has a little bit longer body that you can put bigger batteries on. So if you punch and let the throttle go, it will stay nice and stable in the air. This is important. That's the BL-Heli32. Make sure if you reflash that you have the ESCs on 32.9, and why that is, the PWM frequencies changed a lot over the last firmwares. First, this was just one number, and then we had low and high based on throttle position. And now I would say the biggest feature of this 32.9 is this by RPM. And what does that do is basically, it's going to start with a PWM at 48 kilohertz, and the RPM basically decides how that PWM goes up. Before that was based on throttle, now it's based on by RPM, which is more accurate and should solve some of the jello issues you got before. And yeah, here that's important. So I have 48 to by RPM, quite high. That really works nicely with that thrust linear. But the reason why it's high, it's more efficient. I got really clean data. If you need now more power, more authority, if you have strong wind, lower this number to 24. The tune works really nice with that as well. The drone is then even more locked in, even snappier, faster, better performance, but less efficient. It's so yeah, having it on 48, it's going to be more efficient, less motor heat, the motor runs smoother, but the top end power is not as much, and it has lower authority. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, crank that down if you experience and you need a little bit more power. I will probably put it down just because I want to have it extremely responsive, and that helps. Then here on the motor timing, I know you can put it to auto for efficiency. 16 is default. I put that a little bit higher, the 23, just to get a little bit on the safer side for desyncs and anything. I have my pits quite high. With 23, I got some really nice results. All right, quick look at the black box. Some of you are interested, how clean is it? So what you can see here, this was the step response test I did. This was the PD bands, and you can see such nice results I could get. I was actually surprised. So that's basically why the PD balance was chosen the way it is. You can see here I put from a Blackbox Explorer, you can see that the motor noise, don't get confused, this is a motor noise, it's above 100 Hertz, so you can easily filter it out. But yes, you can see very clean up to that motor noise, quite a decent peak, higher than I got, for example, on a IMU 6000, but you can filter that, otherwise extremely clean. And here, this is a 6-minute flight. And you can see here it goes. This is done in Pit Toolbox. Also the tool we talk about in the masterclass with Brian. But just to show you, minus 20 is safe, like not ideal, but safe. Minus 30 is really good. Minus 40 is like exceptional. So it's very, very clean here. Yes, there is a spike here, but it's below 30 decibels and it's a logarithmic scale. So that's very nice. Of course, you can always improve it, but I think this gives really nice results, and that's a 6-minute flight, so for that I'm really happy. yeah, that's it. If you want to know more, please reach out to me. And yeah, the drone is available, and I wish you luck.